Previously on Podcast Without Pretense.
You know, if we just keep going so that every episode takes twice as long before we do it, we will never reach 150, and we never have to watch Rock and Roll Frankenstein ever again.
I'm telling you guys, I've cleared out every Wednesday. I got nothing to do. I don't care if anybody comes to town. I'm not missing another episode.
The phone didn't actually shatter until it hit the dude in the head like 12 stories down.
Hi, welcome to Podcast Without Pretense. I'm Jonathan Strickland.
I'm Ayaz Akhtar.
And I'm Eric Sandine.
And together, we're three fairy tale princes just in search of some avenging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That describes our show to a T. So we're going to change that, have our description changed on iTunes.
See, now we'll need an updated, because we've got the Mount Rushmore version of our images. Now we need someone to go out and do but you have to do it shitty, a really shitty version of like Disney princes, but with our heads.
Well, we should thank again Tom Gerke for the awesome album art that we have currently
It's
with
fantastic.
the Mount Rushmore style.
Yeah.
So if Tom, if you want to get plastered and then do a shitty version of the album art of us as Disney princesses or princes?
Princes, like
Princes.
Prince Charming.
Okay, so they're all like...
They're all very
Go ahead.
generic.
Yeah, that's what I say. They're pretty much all the same. So it should be pretty easy.
It's true.
Yeah. If you want to make one of us Tarzan, go ahead.
Let's see.
Just
I guess,
wondering which one of us would end up in a loincloth.
one of us could be like Luke Skywalker. He counts as a Disney prince, right? Because Leia's a princess.
Well, if you're going to do that, you might as well
That's
go ahead
stretching.
and throw the Marvel characters in, too.
I want to be fine. I want to be Prince Namor. Okay, I'm going to be the
You wanna
Submariner. I don't have to like.
Right, so you want to be the Submariner?
I'm just going to need a speedo, and I'm going to have to like drop 1,000 pounds. So I'm on it.
Things to do.
It's
Buy
on my
Speedo,
list.
Lose weight.
And grow little wings on my ankles that make me fly.
Very important.
It's very important.
Well, they got surgery
So-
for that now.
Yeah. Eric could be Prince Eric. That would be boring, but it would also work.
It would be.
It's from
Why are we
Little-
talking about princes?
Because we had a movie that we watched that was called Avengers Grimm, and it had everything to do with fairy tales.
Oh, right. That's
Would you
right.
like to hear
Who picked
what our
this?
official review of this movie is?
Oh, that's right.
All right.
Forgot
So
about
wait,
that.
we should explain the gimmick to anybody who's never seen the
Okay.
show before.
Two-part gimmick now, because it gets more complicated as the show goes on. The first thing was that we wanted to test our attention spans by watching really crappy movies but having no distractions present, because we often, when we're at home, have a second screen or we're chatting with somebody and we're not really paying full attention. So this is kind of a test to see how much attention we can dedicate to some truly awful stuff on Netflix. And once in a while, we watch a good movie just to make ourselves feel better. And you write down how far you got, and from that point forward, you can either watch the movie with distractions or you can just walk away. But usually we end up torturing ourselves and watching the rest of it. Often we take notes, and then we critique the movie, sometimes at length. And recently we decided to add another level where whoever picks the film is responsible for writing a review, dictating that review into some speech-to-text converter, copying and pasting that into Google Translate, translating it into a few languages, and then back to English, and that becomes the official review. So just so you guys know, I wrote the review, dictated it, put it with Afrikaans, as in, like South Africa type, Dutch language. Catalan. Went to that to Catalan. Went from that. I think I had one more step, but I was Ukraine. Japanese, English. So here is the official review Assuming, I'm sorry, have I paused? Because my video's going. Oh, wait. Now I hear you.
Wait, you're back now.
Yeah.
We heard all the translation steps chopped up, but it worked.
Okay. Well, as long as you heard them, then I don't have to repeat them.
Yeah.
I apologize for that. At any rate, yeah, and I've also had some internet connectivity issues that are ongoing. But anyway, here's the review, the bizarre review. So, this movie is in order to give the once barely his magic forces superiority on the lazy other areas with us sloppy. The found version in folklore itself of modern America is similar, light enough the magic of the shot rod in character time of the built-in fairy tale. Low decent right and choreography battle scene is incoherent, rhythm shelter of TV series. It's our official review.
That is terrific. This time I'm going to make sure it actually shows up with the episode. And the movie we watched again was Avengers Grimm by The Asylum. And yes. Jonathan picked it, and as we do, the person who actually picks the movie has to write the review. That's the other little hook. Yes. How long did you guys watch the movie before you had to go to a second screen? How about you, Eric?
24 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Just surprisingly long.
11 minutes, which is approximately the time when Snow White drives up in her car, and I said, fuck this movie.
Mine was 9:54 because I was watching it alone, and then Liz came home, and I'm like, I hit pause. I'm like, but once I had seen whatever scene it was at 9:54, I was like, I think when I turn it back on, I'm just gonna have my computer open because this looks like a pile of shit. And I was right.
Fair.
That was them dealing with the police officers, probably right about there.
Yes, yeah. Right around there, because right after that is when Snow White shows up, as Jonathan mentioned at the minute 11.
I have an extremely long series of notes, but I don't know if you guys want me to go through it or not. Well, I can give it a shot if you want.
I mean, they're going to be better than mine because I have about 12 sentences.
I've got a lot.
I have so many, but I do have this. Before we even get to anything, there's still 20 minutes left. How fuck?
Yeah, so. I think I have a very similar note somewhere in this. And it was even before that, where I literally I paused it for some reason, and it was almost exactly halfway through, and I lost all will to live. I was like, shit, I have just as much movie left as I've already gone through.
So why don't we give Jonathan a try? If you completely crap out during the video portion, we'll have to just tag team this thing.
Sure.
And with Eric's 12 sentences. I can't wait for Eric's 12 sentences.
Yeah. So I watched this a couple of weeks ago, so some of this is going to be rediscovery for me. All right. Once again, the Asylum cashes in on other people's work. This time it's a combination of the Avengers and the TV series Once Upon a Time. In fact, I'd argue this movie makes almost no sense at all unless you've seen Once Upon a Time. At any rate, our main characters come from a fairy tale world in which all the fairy tales you've ever heard about coexist. Snow White and her Prince Charming apparently rule a kingdom. Other princesses include Cinderella, Rapunzel, and Sleeping Beauty. We've got other fairy tale characters as well, like Rumpelstiltskin, which is a total ripoff of one of the main antagonists in Once Upon a Time. You also have Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf, who appears to be a human mercenary plagued by growling sound effects wherever he goes. The film opens as Rumpelstiltskin has stormed Snow White's castle. He has turned her troops against her and demands she open a portal using her magic mirror to the world of Earth. He also reveals that he has killed her husband. Not so charming now, huh? Anyway, other princesses show up, there's a standoff, Snow White opens the portal, and is sucked through with Rumpelstiltskin. This was where I had been watching the movie, and I didn't bother going back when I was taking these notes, but I took these notes after I had stopped. The princesses, the Wolf and Red, follow behind a few moments later, but time passes at different speeds, much faster on Earth than in the fairy tale world. They arrive on an Earth that has already been affected by Rumpelstiltskin. Snow White pulls up in a sports car and the princesses climb in. When asked how long she has been on Earth, her reply is, too long. So fuck you, movie. By the way, this is where I stopped watching on my first attempt.
wait a second. You like jumped some of this stuff while let's see. Red is talking to Wolf, who's just a tattooed guy who growls a lot, as you mentioned. When they go through the portal, this mirror shatters. Did you mention that part?
No, I did not.
Okay. So
and one of those shards embeds inside Red.
Exactly. It says Red finds another piece of the mirror stuck to her because she busted through the mirror. Red runs into some people following Wolf who talks down to her and are threatening. So she decides to beat up everyone and disarms them. At first I thought, how does she know what a gun is? Then I was like, are guns old enough that Red Riding Hood knows what that is or not? I had to look it up.
See,
as far as I know, in the Grimm tale,
you're actually skipping ahead. That's after this point.
She does more than that because here comes. I thought Snow White was regal in the first scenes, but dear God, she's terrible. She's earth. Yeah. She's wooden. And then go ahead.
All right. Well, I said Red is tracking the wolf, who of course killed her grandmother and everyone else she's ever known, and she has the last shard of the mirror to keep a chance of going back, and it impaled her, but she's okay, so don't worry. She encounters toughs who belong to Iron John's gang. She's not at all intimidated by them and whips their asses. Red heads to a roof. The mirror starts to flash. She looks at it and then looks out over the city. Apparently something important was shown in the mirror, but we don't see what it was. She heads off with purpose. Next, we get an exposition scene with Snow White explaining what Rump has been up to. He's mayor of the city, which seems like a pretty small move to me for a guy who had an entire kingdom at his feet moments earlier. But SW explains that without his army, Rump has to take a more gradual route to seizing power. Also, Snow White has an awful California shift accent. She pronounces level as lavel, and it drives me nuts. Next, we go to Rump's office.
At 20 minutes, 15 seconds, I have, holy shit, this movie's taking forever. I have found a YouTube version that I could watch in a faster pace, but decided against it for now. I really should have done it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Next, we go to Rump's office. The cops show up to alert Rump to the princess's arrival. Rump's secretary has had her mind wiped 1 billion times, I'm guessing, since she acts totally robotic. I assume that was an acting choice. The cops, one white guy and one black guy, explain that the princesses escaped them. Rump gets mad, so he kills one of them. Guess which one it was? Hint, not the white guy. Black guy is now an extra from the Thriller music video. SW, that's Snow White, by the way, is living in a building called The Tower. I guess that's cute. The princesses seem pretty casual about the modern world. They don't seem at all confused or amazed by anything. So keep in mind, they came from a fairy tale world. Now they're in modern America, in a city with cars and all this other stuff. Totally nonplussed. It doesn't faze them one bit. All right. Well, Snow White reveals that if Rump gets the shard that Red has, he will be able to bring his army through to Earth and conquer it. He's also building his own army of brainwashed zombie-type dudes. I have to admit, the lighting and shots in this film aren't all terrible. They're using Ultra HD cameras, which is an issue with some close-ups. The wide shots look pretty good, particularly the sequence of Red walking through a tunnel, searching for the wolf. She gets sucker-clawed, as opposed to punched, by the wolf, and then is caught by Iron John's thugs. By the way, we never know why he's called the wolf, or how he manages to claw people, because he's just a dude. Mm-hmm. But when he hits Red, she has these, like, claw marks on her arm afterward. It doesn't make any sense. Snow White explains that the girls will have to blend in and throws them some fashion magazines. So that explains why they are in modern clothes in the next scene. They head to a bar and question a dude who saw Red briefly, who explains that she had been taken by Iron John, so they go off to find him. This is another thing about this movie. This entire movie is a sequence of people looking for other people and hearing that the other people have gone somewhere, so then they go to that place, but by then the other people have gone to another place, so then they go to the other place, and that's the plot of the movie. Really, I could stop now, and that would be, that explains what the plot is.
It's a pretty good summary, really.
Right. So Iron John talks to Red. Iron John is played by, who is it? Is it Ferrigno?
Lou Ferrigno.
Lou Ferrigno. Yeah.
He was awesome.
He was actually quite good at this. One of the best performers in this. Red explains what is going on, and Iron John's men laugh at her, which is odd, seeing as how she kicked all their asses earlier. She tries to escape. The men open fire. Fortunately, their guns have next to no penetration power, as she flips over a regular table and hides behind it, and the bullets don't go through. As she escapes, the cops show up and capture her and all of Iron John's men, ultimately rendering that scene pointless. Wolf meets with Rumpelstiltskin, tells Rump that Red has a bit of the mirror, so they head off to retrieve the mirror and or kill Red. SW and the girls discover that IJ, that's Iron John, is gone. Rapunzel uses her hair to knock out a cop. For real. And Sleeping Beauty makes the other one go to sleep. They decide to interrogate one of the zombies to find out where Red has been taken. Back to the cops. Red escapes her prison cell and taunts Iron John and then leaves, rendering the previous two scenes pointless. Next, we get the princesses storming the cops as the cops discover Red has escaped, and Iron John laughs for no real reason. The cops call the prison the Den. The SWAT team seems eager to kill princesses, but the girls are wily, and they have Rapunzel's hair. Wow, Red is magic. Just as the princesses are getting ready to move on, a cop shows up and throws down on them, but then is shot in the back. Then Red rounds a corner, so she managed to shoot the cop before having a line of sight on him. Magic! This is where you hear a gunshot, cop falls over, then Red runs around the corner, having just shot the cop. I don't know how that was supposed to work.
Well, you know, like amazing. You were mentioning, when Red does escape the jail, and then the cop asks Iron John, where did she go? And as you mentioned, he just laughs. Considering he fucking hates this woman already, couldn't he at least say, like, she went that way, or like something, she had a key, she lifted a key? Or, like, why on earth does that happen?
Let me out and I'll tell you, or something. Like, let's make a bargain.
Yeah, before that scene happens, I barely care what's going on. Notes to be a lot less detailed at this point.
Yeah, whereas I cared a lot in the sense that I was just irritated at how shitty this movie is. Which, it's the Asylum. I did expect it. It just still, I had to document it. Snow White and the gals meet to discuss an in-game strategy, including breaking the mirror fragment if necessary. Wolf tracks down the ladies, this being the princesses. Rumpelstiltskin decides to send Iron John to the gals as his warrior, I guess. He makes a deal and uses his magic to transform IJ into a giant steel dude. So his name becomes more appropriate, I guess.
Yeah.
So this is where it said, I just paused the movie and I am 42 minutes, 39 seconds in. I have 42 minutes, 45 seconds left to go. I swear I thought I was almost finished with the movie. How can I only be halfway through? That's absolutely true, by the way. I thought this movie's got to be wrapping up. There's way too much ridiculous, pointless nonsense going on. It has to be almost over. And I was only halfway. By the way, because the movie builds as if it's building to a climax and then starts over. It just starts over. So Red and Cinderella have a conversation in which they explain each other's backstories. And Cinderella says, we're Avengers. Fuck this movie.
That was very necessary to explain why the hell did you even call this movie Avengers Grimm when it's very little to do with avenging.
Yeah. And I hate that they have conversations where they tell each other's backstories. It's just ridiculous exposition. So Iron John is now supposed to be made of metal, but he looks like a cheap Silver Surfer. Rapunzel uses her magic hair to fight off thugs. Sleeping Beauty uses hers to turn one of Iron John's guys against him somehow.
My note on that one was, oh, look, Lou Ferrigno is the Hulk again.
Yeah.
I have Hulk silver makeup not as good as his green one.
Right.
Because you could see like obvious eyelid lines. And the other thing is Sleeping Beauty, right? So she does eventually, or she like knocks somebody out of the spell that what's Rumpelstiltskin put on him. Isn't she like the most powerful person then? And shouldn't she be doing this at every fucking turn?
Yeah. Sleeping Beauty has a power that would render most of the offense they're going against completely null and void. And yet doesn't use it very frequently. And then Cinderella has powers that are so vaguely defined, I can't tell what the fuck she's doing. There's a point where she turns a curtain into a fence. Like she transforms it. I guess it's supposed to be like a glass slipper, like the pumpkin into a carriage type shit. I'm guessing. But she's able to transform materials, which also seems pretty fucking powerful to me. But anyway, I guess for the purposes of plot, they can't be all powerful. So IJ is shot multiple times, which he finds irritating. Rapunzel is knocked unconscious. Red and Wolf fight. Red's fighting skills seem to depend upon the necessity of the plot, which is irritating because, again, she defeated all of Iron John's men by herself, and yet Wolf is somehow able to, like, I guess it's kind of like the giant in Princess Bride. He's used to fighting groups of people instead of just one. So Red must be the same way. Snow White's boobs are about to fall out of her costume. Red throws the shard to the princesses, and the Wolf immediately withdraws, so she chases after the Wolf. The princesses, sans Rapunzel, make their getaway. Okay, so we just traded Rapunzel for Red as person whom Rumpelstiltskin has in custody. This is the other part of this movie that's so irritating. They repeat the same plot, they just switch out the hostage character. So instead of it being Red... Go ahead.
In the Red versus Wolf on the walkway thing, did you mention how they pass the mirror shard from one person to the next, or did I miss that part?
Yeah, I said that she throws that to the princesses.
Yeah, so okay, I want to stick to that point for a second here. They're like on this like bizarre catwalk kind of thing going on like between buildings, and who catches it? Is it Rapunzel? No, it's Sleeping Beauty.
Rapunzel's unconscious. Yeah.
Okay, so Red has the mirror shard and throws it. So the shard's about the size, I'd say a little bit larger than an iPhone at this point, or maybe an iPhone 6 Plus. And she throws it. Okay, so this is a jagged piece of glass. She flings it over, and I'm thinking, okay, this thing is going to break, or maybe when you catch it, you get cut. But for some reason, Sleeping Beauty has the amazing power to just stop it in air with no problem, and moves along her day. Did anyone else find that kind of strange that she had the ability to catch broken glass?
She could put people to sleep and turn them to her side. I can handle her catching a piece of glass.
Like that's not
that I can't accept.
That's just skill.
I was like the Sleeping Beauty thing. Like the powers are also very weird. Like these princesses all have powers that are vaguely related to elements of their character. Snow White can turn stuff cold, for example. But these are powers that are never really explained in the sense that they aren't part of the traditional folktale version of these characters. So it's pretty dumb. Anyway, so the fact that Rumpelstiltskin lost Red, but now has Rapunzel, told me that this is how the movie is going to keep going. It's just going to repeat itself by putting different women in the damsel in distress role, which, by the way, absolutely true, happens again. Spoilers. Red is distracted by crazy man with bag on his head long enough for Wolf to grab her. I don't even remember that scene. I just wrote it down.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, yeah, apparently she was distracted by some guy, and then the Wolf grabs her. I say, for someone who was asleep for most of her life, Sleeping Beauty is a real bitch. Super classist. I say this because she is acting all stuck up as Snow White shows the ladies her first hideout on Earth, which is in a basement somewhere. So Snow White's showing off this hidden area that had never been uncovered by Rumpelstiltskin when Snow White first arrived on Earth, because remember, time passes at different speeds. So she had been on Earth a long time. We don't know how long that is. She has this underground hideout, and Sleeping Beauty's all like, ew, gross. I'm like, bitch, come on. And Cinderella says, what if, or wait, this is important though. Cinderella says, what if Rapunzel tells them where we are? She can't. Right. Okay, Rapunzel can't tell the authorities where they are because earlier in that same goddamn scene, Snow White made it apparent that she was just now showing the princesses this secret hideout. Therefore, Rapunzel, who was captured previously, has no way of knowing about the secret hideout. She's not there. So she couldn't tell them where the location of the secret hideout is. She is unaware of the existence of the secret hideout. But the characters who, again, have just arrived at the secret hideout for the first time are like, what if Rapunzel tells them where we are? Fuck this movie.
I forgot what I was going to ask about. Oh, I remember what I was going to ask. Was there any explanation why Red and Sleeping Beauty hate each other?
Classist. Sleeping Beauty is a princess. Sleeping Beauty is a princess, and Red is a peasant.
But that's it. There's not like a ton of backstory. Like I missed some kind of Red shot somebody by accident.
Sleeping Beauty is a bitch who believes that peasants are a different species and not worthy of her attention. The end. That's it. Okay. So, all right. So Cinderella's dumb as a bag of hammers because she thinks that Rapunzel's going to talk. I said Snow White doesn't point out this obvious flaw in Cinderella's logic, instead saying Rapunzel will resist. She doesn't have to resist. She doesn't know. All right. Anyway, then Rumpelstiltskin's powers also don't work on princesses. This is the first time we hear this. So Rumpelstiltskin has these powers that he can use to influence people. You know, he can bend them to his will. But for some reason, it doesn't work on the princesses. Works on just about anybody else, but not on the princesses. And we don't know why. It's just convenient to the plot. So for some reason, I don't know why the reason is. I doubt the movie does either. And then the ladies have a come to Jesus moment to discuss the merits of one life versus the lives of many. Snow White lays down the law and they plan to move against Rumpelstiltskin. This is where Snow White's essentially saying, if it looks like we can't win, we just have to destroy the mirror at all costs, even if that means we never get back, because it's more important that we stop Rumpelstiltskin from being able to invade Earth. So I said next I think Rumpelstiltskin's secretary is my favorite character in this thing. She's kind of like a goofy, scared doofus. Rump interrogates Rapunzel, but gets nowhere. For obvious reasons she doesn't know. Snow White and Cinderella grab Rump's secretary to get her security badge. Cinderella cures her. So her mental state, Cinderella's able to clear that somehow. That's one of her vaguely defined powers. Cops go after Sleeping Beauty in Snow White's hideout. Apparently, motion sensors picked up their movements, which is very convenient. But it also makes sense that Rumpelstiltskin, after not being able to find Snow White, put motion sensors around and they happen to pick up the princesses, which is how the cops are able to close in on them. I'm actually okay with that plot point. Sleeping Beauty awaits the cops' arrival. Cut back to Rumpelstiltskin, who goes on to interrogate Red, who also, I should point out, doesn't know where anyone else is, but hey, the movie doesn't want us to think about that. So now he's asking Red, hey, where are these guys? And Red's being all tough, like, I'll never tell. Again, she doesn't know, so she couldn't tell. Snow White ices the floor as Iron John goes to attack her. He lunges at Cinderella, who is dressed as Red for some reason, and he slips out the window and falls down past the building in what can only be described as hilariously bad special effects. Probably my favorite part of the movie was Iron John flying out the window and falling.
And it's a tall building, right? Like, it's a really tall building that he falls out of.
Yeah. Then Sleeping Beauty tries to use the mirror to find out where Snow White is, and it flashes and knocks her out for some reason. We have another Snow White scene as she rescues Rapunzel. Zombie Red shows up at Snow White's hideout, even though, and I can't stress this enough, she has never been there and doesn't know where it is. Snow White shows up and suddenly knows that Red has the mirror and is heading to City Hall because somehow she knows Red has been compromised. Seriously, this film is filled with moments in which characters possess knowledge that they have no way of knowing.
Yep.
There's no way Snow White knows that Red has been compromised. There's no way that Snow White knows that Red has managed to get the mirror piece from Sleeping Beauty, but the movie doesn't want you to think about that, so it just moves forward. Now Zombie Red and Iron John face each other down. Rump shows up, discovers his secretary has been compromised, and uses the mirror on her. Also, for no apparent reason, Netflix kicked me out of the movie at this exact moment. Relaunching the movie picked right back up, so not sure what was happening. I think maybe Netflix was just trying to save me, but all for naught.
So wait, you mentioned that Red stole the mirror shard away from everybody and ran
From
away,
Sleeping
right?
Beauty, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
And
here's
Snow White somehow knew about it without being told about it.
here's my note. It says, wait. I had to pause the movie to write this. The princesses come back to where Sleeping Beauty is. Red has just stolen the mirror shard. The princesses notice something's up with Red because she's like a zombie. Red pulls out an arrow and fires at the girls. It's a smoke arrow, and Red runs past them. She doesn't attack or kill them. She just runs past them. I actually rewound the movie to watch that again because I was just like, you're zombified. You're not taking out any of the princesses. And they are literally within like 2 feet of each other. So the princesses are here, and Red, with the smoke, walks past them, just runs. I'm like, why is she not killing them?
Maybe that's what happened. Maybe I missed that one moment, which would actually explain how Snow White would know any of this damn stuff. Because when I was watching it, I didn't notice that part. I probably got up from the TV at some point. So for me, if that's the case, if that was like the sequence that explains things, then at least that part of my objection can be removed. There was a point in the movie where something made sense, kind of.
Sort of.
All right. Yeah, not really, because like Ayaz is pointing out, it doesn't make sense that Red would just run away. So Rumpelstiltskin opens up a portal using the mirror shard and tells Iron John to guard it. Meanwhile, a series of Renaissance Festival rejects runs through. They all appear to be wearing smocks. Clearly, these are meant to be fodder for the princesses to fight, which is what they do. Rump monologues and sends Red to kill the princesses. He climbs up to the top of City Hall and says, "It has begun." Fuck this movie. Fight scene with princesses taking out thralls is actually not too bad, all things considered. Snow White tells Sleeping Beauty and Rapunzel to go after the portal, and she and Cinderella will take on the lobby. But then Red shows up, fires one arrow, runs away, and Snow White calls her a bitch. Maybe this is what you were talking about. Like, Cinderella says she'll go after Red, so now Rapunzel has to go seal the portal on her own, while Snow White and Sleeping Beauty hit the lobby. So literally, we just had a scene in which as soon as the characters establish what they are going to do, they change everything. So in other words, we have characters meet, they make a plan. It's like Ocean's 11. They have a plan, everyone's designated a task. Then immediately something happens and they all change their plan. So there was no need for the first part of that scene at all. It was ridiculous. All right. Now we have a scene between Cinderella and Red, which is taking place in a location that's clearly miles away from everything else in the LA River, as in that big concrete channel where all movies go to die. So that's dumb. I figure they just saw it and thought it was cool. It's essentially the same place where they shot the race scene in Grease, or if you prefer, the sequence in Terminator 2, where the Terminator's driving a semi-truck and chasing after John Connor.
It was also in that really bad horror movie we watched with the multiple skits and the ice cream truck.
VHS viral.
VHS.
There we go. Yep.
Yeah. This is the go-to location in LA for stuff like that, which, by the way, may soon not be a go-to location for that kind of thing because they're talking about returning the water to the LA River. At any rate, now we have that scene between Cinderella and Red, and it's clear that they aren't anywhere close to where the rest of the action is going on. They just wanted to have a different kind of backdrop for their confrontation. The fight between Red and Cinderella is a bit rough, and by that I mean the choreography doesn't make much sense. Meanwhile, Rapunzel and Iron John are having a fight. She slings him into a column in the parking deck, and it starts to crack the foundation. Meanwhile, Snow White and Sleeping Beauty start to take the lobby of City Hall. Sleeping Beauty shows she can put people to sleep from a distance, which seems really odd. I mean, why didn't she do that earlier in the movie? She always seems to need to get close, but not in that sequence. Back at the Rapunzel IJ fight, IJ sees the light and agrees to try and shut down the portal if Rapunzel takes care of his men. Snow White sees Rumpelstiltskin and goes to kill him, but is blasted by his crazy mirror powers. Wolf puts Sleeping Beauty in a sleeper hold, which is cute.
Okay,
Iron John.
Going back to what you just said, when Rapunzel's talking to Iron John by closing the portal. So I have here. So it is kind of like the Avengers movie in that there's an alien army coming through a portal. So okay, good on you. You took the Avengers. The mayor's taking on Sleeping Beauty and Snow White. Snow White in an excellent slow-mo run scene. Did you guys remember the slow-mo run scene?
Yeah.
Okay. Then it got the mayor skin shooter with skin.
You want to talk about the boobs in the slow-mo run scene?
No. I was just saying that was the best part of the entire movie because I was like, okay, that was impressive. And I don't call him Rump.
Iron John falling out the window trumps it. I'm sorry.
in my notes, I have him as Skin. So Mayor Skin shoots her with the magic mirror juice. The captions say Snow White was electrocuted. So that's what happened to her.
Okay, clearly. Well, this means that Snow White has now become our new damsel in distress. So, once again, just kind of the only one who doesn't really get a turn is Cinderella. Iron John closes the portal by bringing a building down on it. Red and Cinderella are still fighting. Rumpelstiltskin makes essentially a threat of rape against Snow White. Classy. Snow White makes an icicle to try and kill him. He stops her immediately. This movie is making me feel extremely uncomfortable. It's supposed to have strong female protagonists, but they are constantly at the mercy of the villain. They haven't really had the advantage through the entire movie. The wolf has Sleeping Beauty by the throat when Red drags in a seemingly unconscious Cinderella. It's a fake out, of course. Cinderella has reached Red. He sees that Red has the mirror, but in fact, it's an illusion created by Cinderella. It's actually her sword, and Red kills Wolf. If that sentence or that paragraph makes no sense to you, congratulations. You're in the same boat I was in. The princesses show up. Rumpelstiltskin holds Snow White hostage. Snow White stabs herself hard enough to also stab Rumpelstiltskin, I guess. He tries to get away through the portal. Rapunzel grabs him with her hair. Sleeping Beauty smashes the remaining mirror shard, closing the portal and killing Rumpelstiltskin. All the thralls wake up, including the ones that were brought through the portal. Snow White seems to die. Will someone smooch her and bring her back? Wild guess says yes. Nope, but she does wake up in a morgue covered in frost for no reason. The end.
Okay, that's the entire movie. And yeah, I even have the same notes. Thralls wake up. But my question is this. When they shattered the mirror, they just made smaller shards of mirror. So couldn't that still work as a portal thing? Is there a set size for mirror shards? Because that's never been answered. Oh, okay. So I see a note that Jonathan disconnected. I didn't know if he was just, he's like, this movie made no fucking sense. I'm not going to even dignify that. What do you think, Eric? Don't you think that the little shards could have had more portals?
There were a lot of problems with the whole like mirror shard thing going on. At one point, like when Red has the shard and she like pulls it out of herself, I was sitting there wondering, hold on, she's been running around with a piece of glass stuck in her leg or arm or whatever for like a couple hours now.
She runs around for a while. You're right, and like she kind of pulls it out of like a weird back spot, like kind of here. Yeah. So like you'd notice that, and it's not tiny, so you might know that what's going on there. What did you think? What were your 12 notes?
My 12 notes, all of them were pretty much covered, and apparently they stopped. I can tell you exactly where they stopped, which was minute 31. And then there's like a couple random ones about Lou Ferrigno after that. Oh wait, what was I think it was Snow White or whatever at some point remarks that she knows that Red has a piece of the mirror, and there's no way she could have known that. Like that was also one of the like, there's no way any of these characters actually can know any of the things that they know.
See, I was thinking that maybe I was overthinking this. I'm like, maybe the princesses and Snow White have some kind of deeper connection to the mirror, so they kind of know where it is at all times. Because they always seem to be able to find the damn thing. And also, it's all magical bullshit stuff anyway. So maybe that's why. But there's no explanation of that. That's me reading into it. I just got an IM from Jonathan saying, connection totally died. Good timing. So I don't know if he's going to be back. We'll find out. I was trying to make sense of this movie in general, but I just couldn't it just wasn't. It wasn't so bad. It was good. That was annoying. Like these guys, the Asylum. They did Titanic 2, which was awesome. They did Sharknado and Sharknado 2, and I haven't watched Sharknado 3 yet. Have you seen that yet?
Lampreys was pretty good. I haven't watched Sharknado 3 yet.
Wasn't Lampreys? Wasn't that actually like Blood Lake? Wasn't that the original name?
Oh yeah, whatever that was called. Yeah, Blood Lake. That was it.
That's right. That was terrible. That had Christopher Lloyd.
Yep.
Of all people, like it was amazing that Christopher Lloyd apparently needed to like have a car payment or something.
Yeah.
What the fuck was he doing in that movie? This movie had who was Rumpelstiltskin? I've seen him and stuff. He was the guy from Starship Troopers, right?
Oh yeah, that probably it. That is him.
And he becomes the mayor of on Earth, well, in an Earth city. But
right.
Doesn't that take a shit ton of work? Did he enslave the entire town and they all voted for him? It's not like he took an elected a position where you are appointed. That would make more sense. He has some kind of position like a judge. Actually, you had to run to be a judge. But how the hell did he manage that? How crafty is this guy?
Yeah, I mean, he may have. I mean, we know he can put his secretary under some sort of haze, right? So
I didn't think that's funny because when Jonathan mentioned that, and you mentioned that, I did not think that she was brainwashed. I just thought she was a ditz.
Like the entire time.
Yeah, like you've seen the original Superman in 1978, like
they're
ditzy, like, hey, like I don't mind helping you out, like that's my job.
Well,
and I just thought like she's the mayor's assistant, so
that part doesn't explain when Snow White like removes that haze from her though. Unless Snow White like magically made her smarter. It's
I
possible.
I thought it was more like an awakening as to what's going on, not necessarily that she was under a spell. I just thought she just was compared to everybody else that turns into a thrall. They all turn into like zombies, and Jessica did not go mayor assistant, So
True.
I thought maybe she wasn't broken, but maybe she was.
I think Rumpelstiltskin just had varying levels of enslavement that he could employ, it seems.
So, but why would he ever need
why use anything? The lesser forms? Not sure.
Like, couldn't he just like legitimately like, I'm calling everybody in the town to arrive at my office, and then he's going to one by one brainwash them, and then continue this as he becomes mayor, then governor, and then president, and then king of the earth. It could have done that, but no.
It seems the movie that made no sense, really. Like, if you try actually thinking about the details of this movie, it makes no sense, which is sad because I thought better of Asylum, honestly.
So we got another update from the missing Jonathan. He says checking the modem/router, no signal. So he may not be back. But it's because he wants to avoid the movie I'm going to pick because I think it's finally my freaking turn again. And you know what I'm going to pick.
And I think I already watched it, but we don't have to tell Jonathan.
A Deadly Adoption.
Yep, watched it. I downloaded it the night after it came out.
Okay, so I downloaded it. I have it, and I am going to watch this movie. I've held off watching this movie.
Wait, well, you held off? Now I feel like a dick.
Well, whatever. Just either have notes or like at least your time. You're not disqualified. Jonathan's not here, so don't tell him.
That's true.
He doesn't watch the show, so it's okay. It's either that or Sharknado 3, but I really want to watch A Deadly Adoption, the Will Ferrell, Kristin Wiig Lifetime movie, which looks amazing, but I have not gotten the opportunity to see it yet. So you've seen it. Am I going to like it?
I will say nothing, but it is. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I have a tendency to watch Lifetime movies, and I saw some new ones added to Netflix. Have you watched Christie's Revenge?
No. No.
Okay. It stars John Wesley Shipp. He used to play the Flash on that television show, the live-action Flash. I don't know if you remember that show.
Yeah.
He played Dawson's dad on Dawson's Creek.
Right.
And so once I saw his name on that list, I'm like, I'm watching this movie. So I'm going to describe this movie because why the hell not? We got nothing else to do.
Yeah,
Christie's Revenge. There's a girl named Christy, and she's helping out her Uncle Ray, played by John Wesley Shipp or whatever his name is. And every time she does something nice for him, and then he leaves the scene, she goes, "You'll get yours, Uncle Ray." This goes on for about 25 minutes, and you have no fucking idea why she keeps saying this. Okay, so 25 minutes in, you finally get one flashback, and it's a flashback of Christy watching her dad on the phone, who's the dad's the brother of Ray, saying, "I need more money. You have the money. Why don't you just give me the money? She needs to go to college. She needs to go to college." That's the entirety of the backstory until about an hour and 20 minutes in that we find out that her father turns out to be like a gambler, throws away the money. He did give him the money, but the guy pissed away the money. At this point, again, we've gone through 10 scenes of "You'll get yours, Uncle Ray. You'll get yours, Uncle Ray." Assuming I don't know how every time he's out of earshot, like within about 2 seconds, like you couldn't hear any of this. But it's an amazing movie. It's classic shitty Lifetime movie. So if you're bored, you should definitely see Christie's Revenge. I see Jonathan is back.
How'd the rest of the show go?
Terrific.
Great.
We've been talking about Christie's Revenge.
Is that what we're watching next?
No, it's just a movie I watched recently. A Deadly Adoption is next.
Oh, is that's your next pick? Is Deadly Adoption?
A Deadly Adoption, which is not easily accessible any which way. Lifetime make it easier so we don't have to get it some other way. But yeah, so A Deadly Adoption, which we all have access to, is the next movie. Are you excited, Jonathan? That's the best reaction. I was really hoping that was it. Just silence and just...
Son of a bitch. I tell you, let me tell you, I'll be excited when Comcast fixes my fucking internet connection.
Did you?
You're almost better off going back to wireless.
Yeah. Isn't Atlanta's getting fiber soon, aren't they?
Yes. It'll take 2 years for it to roll out.
Oh, never mind.
But yeah, so here's the deal. Here's the deal. I've had on and off internet problems for about 4 months. I've had a technician out twice. I've swapped out the equipment twice. I have streamlined the connections to my router, to my modem router, by taking out all the splitters. So it's from the world outside to my living room to my modem. That's it. And I've done everything I can. Then I finally called 2 days ago, and they said, based upon what we're seeing, it looks like it might be a problem with the drop. I'm like, oh, you think? You think it might be? After everything else we've already fucking eliminated, it might be the goddamn drop? I'm like, yeah, we might have to get permits to fix that. I'm like, maybe that's the reason why no one's bothered to even check it, because it's too much of a pain in your ass to get off your butts and come out here and make sure that the connection's actually working. The connection I am fucking paying out my ass for is actually working. I'm a little disgruntled.
Have you, I'm not being sarcastic here, but have you thought about using just T-Mobile Unlimited as just your only thing over there? Because I've had that in Petaluma, where Comcast was so shitty that when it was slow, I would just turn on my hotspot and get like double the speeds.
I could do that, but the plan I'm on T-Mobile right now would not allow me to do unlimited data that way. I have unlimited data on my phone, but if I use it as a hotspot, I do not. I think it's some ridiculously low level, like 5 gigabytes. So I would have to renegotiate that shit too in order to get something that would be workable. But on Saturday we're supposed to have yet another technician come out, and this time actually take a look at the drop to see if, in fact, that's where the problem is. Because apparently, according to the representative I was on the phone with, there are a lot of different houses in this neighborhood that were showing limited service or no service. So it wasn't just me. And but I mean, this has just it's been months of.
If you have a pool of data like that, like you could just look at a data set and go, oh, well, a bunch of the houses on this street seem to not be connecting properly. Well, it's probably a fluke. Like who?
Yeah, no, this is why I'm enraged, Eric. This is why I am so angry, because I've had technicians out twice. And the other issue is, of course, when the technicians come, it's kind of like when you take your car to the mechanic. It never is making that awful racket that it makes whenever you're driving down the street. It drives you crazy, right? Same shit. So technicians come out and they check the signal from outside. And at that time, everything seems to be fine. And then that's why they ended up taking out all the splitters, which I didn't care about because I don't have any of my other rooms. Like, they're all wired for cable, but I didn't have anything hooked up to them. Didn't care. Didn't need it. So I was like, well, just streamline it. Just go straight to the living room. That's fine. So they did. That seemed to help things. But then we were having the problems again. Swapped out the equipment a second time. And now they're like, oh, well, maybe it's something that's outside your house. And this is something I've been saying since the very beginning. And they have tons of data, because when the lady I was on the phone with, when she was looking at the error report from the modem, she's like, holy crap, because she saw how many times it was going down.
God.
And I said, I occasionally like to do things like, I don't know, work from home or use the internet that I'm paying for. I would like it to be available, please. So yeah.
No, Suncast in the chat room is saying, have you mentioned this stuff on Twitter? Because he's gotten good responses on Comcast Cares. And usually that's how I get people to get off their asses. They're like, oh, you have a lot of followers. We shouldn't piss you off. And you got a bunch too.
I have a few. I've got a couple. But I haven't done it yet because I'm waiting for this Saturday for the technician to come out. I'm giving them the one last chance. But I have said multiple times, and I'll say it on here, the day Google Fiber is available in my neighborhood, I will switch and I will never look back.
Yeah. I
will go with Google Fiber for television. I will go for a Google Fiber. I might sign up for 2 accounts just for the fuck of it.
It'll cost you less, and you'll have a redundancy. What an
idea.
idea.
if I have 2 Google accounts, it'll cost me less than. Oh, here's something else I gotta add: the other underhanded shit that Comcast did.
I remember this. Okay, go ahead.
I got on the phone with one person, and I'm like, listen, this has been a continuing issue. We've had people come out. It's still a problem. And the guy's like, all right, well, I'll take a look on this end. And he's taking a look for me. And then he says, you're on this kind of grandfathered package, and I could actually switch you to a different package where you would be getting a few more channels, but it's less money than what you're spending now. And I said, all right, well, let's go ahead and do that. But then what happens is he switches me over, and it is less money than what it costs me right now for 1 month. And then the price goes up. So it's a 1 month introduction price, which is at a lower per monthly cost. But after that, it goes higher than what I was paying per month, which, by the way, never mentioned in the phone call. That's got to be fucking illegal, right?
I mean,
sounds like they should mention it.
Yeah. I'm ready. I'm so ready to walk.
Your trials are much worse than mine were, but I did get.
Well, to be
fair, my
Eric,
favorite was when I got the 7 cable box.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, I don't own more cable boxes than I have rooms in my house.
Yeah. Oh, what's this?
Oh, but here's the other thing.
Cable box, great.
Another thing that irritates me. Oh god, I mean, I nearly saw red when this happened. So, I have an old Motorola whatever cable box from Comcast, which, by the way, is just for the basic cable, because I signed up for the package when it was cheaper to get the bundle than it would be just to get the internet. I did not realize at the time, because I never bothered using the cable before, that it was just basic standard definition. It wasn't a high definition cable set. So there's no HDMI port in the back of it. Well, I got an Xbox One, So I could feed cable from the cable box to the Xbox One. And I thought, oh, well, that would actually be useful. I could do that. Except that's when I realized I don't have the HDMI port. So I call up Comcast and I said, what would I need to do in order to switch out this cable box for one that has an HDMI port? I'd have to upgrade my service to something even more expensive. And I'm like, fuck you!
Well, I mean, especially at that point, because you could get over-the-air channels with HDMI for $40. I don't know, how much does the antenna cost at this point?
I have an antenna that I use to get over-the-air stuff, a digital antenna for the high-definition stuff, and it looks great. But of course, I had to disconnect it because the way my television is, it's you either have the cable hooked up through there or an antenna. So I've got the cable hooked up through there right now because when the first technician came in, he actually made it so that my cable worked. Because my cable TV never worked, but then I was never planning on watching it, so it wasn't really an issue. But now that I have it, I'm like, well, goddamn, if I have it, I want to at least be able to use it if for some reason I desire to do so.
Yeah, Comcast is great until you try to use their services. Like, they're just fine. I mean, that's a crazy idea. Those
Comcast is the worst, and this is exactly what happens when you have a monopoly situation. There's no incentive for them to do any better because they're the only fucking game in town.
I remember I told you guys I had my cable box stolen from my car, which is a ridiculous story already. But I went into Comcast and I'm like, look, the thing was stolen and you guys are going to charge me because I'm leaving California. So charge me. So they give me a bill for like $100 and something bucks. I go, fine, just put it on the last bill and we're done. So they charged me. I saw that crazy amount on my account. And then like months later, I get a call like, we haven't gotten your hardware back. And I go, no, you don't have the hardware because I told you it was stolen. They go, did you file a police report? I go, it doesn't matter. I paid you guys off. Leave me alone. They call me another month later. Did you return the box? I go, I can't. You can ask the thief because I don't have the fucking box. They go, we're going to charge you. I go, no, you can't. I already paid you. So if they do try to charge me again, I'm sure it's going to be like against my credit score. Comcast, I don't owe you a box. Eric has all the boxes.
I have all of them. So same story with Liz. She had a box that was actually stolen. She did file a police report. And years later, I think they finally stopped. But Comcast for a while was still contacting her like, hey, where's that box that we gave you? It's like, reported it stolen, gave you the police report. Oh, okay. Do you have the police report for that? Could we? Yeah, okay.
Dear Comcast, you realize that with everyone cutting their cable services, you don't need all those goddamn boxes back anyway.
Don't need them back. But my favorite was when they sent me a bill for a cable modem, and I'm like, I've never gotten a modem from Comcast. I've always owned my modem, and so I call them and I'm like, well, you've never sent me a modem, and the MAC address of this modem you supposedly sent me matches the modem I own. And they're like, oh, well, what type of modem is it? And I'm like, it's a surfboard, whatever. And they're like, oh, well, we don't send those out. And I'm like, yep. So the device that you're saying you own and I owe you, you also are claiming that, yeah, that's not a device that you guys send out. That was my favorite.
God, I will be dancing a happy jig and singing a song to the heavens the day Google Fiber becomes available. The last I heard was that they were starting to lay out the actual cable in Midtown Atlanta, and then they were going to, I guess, spread out from there. So the plan is to go through all of Atlanta, the city of Atlanta, which I am in, and then some of the other towns that are close to Atlanta that usually just get lumped in as being, that you just say it's Atlanta, which include things like Decatur and Avondale, which are to the east of me. So those neighborhoods are to my east. The downtown Atlanta's to my west. My hope is that, because there's nothing that's set in stone that says that Google Fiber is going to specifically run through this neighborhood. But my hope is that because I'm in between those two, that I will actually have access to this too. And yeah, I'm just hoping that it won't be closer to that 2-year mark before it becomes available here.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we look into the future?
Sure.
Okay. Next time on Podcast Without Pretense.
You know, I'd like to talk about it, but my fucking internet is down.
Oh, I'm just running all kinds of streams in here. I'm using up all the internet.
Did you guys get a cease and desist too, or was that just me?